Hey Ottawa, this is your Monday market snapshot for the Ottawa real estate market for September 4th, Labor Day in Ottawa, Ontario. My name is Annalee Rice and I'm with LePage Performance Realty here in Ottawa. Every week I bring you the stats, the info, the charts to show you what's going on. And this week I've got lots of extra information. So stay tuned. I've got the charts to show us what happened throughout all of August. And since we're now into a new month, and we can see whether or not the market slowed down, the prices, how things are trending towards into the fall market. So let's get going. Okay, so first off, we've got the citywide stats. And for the first week in several weeks, we've got a drop in the number of active listings. It was down quite significantly, down by 94 across the city. Most significantly, it was in the detached market and condos. Townhomes were slightly up, surprisingly. And the sold properties, this is not surprising, we're down slightly from last week, and it's been downtrending for a few weeks. This is because of the long weekend. People aren't out shopping. They're out enjoying this beautiful, beautiful weather that we're having in Ottawa. The sales were down most significantly in the townhomes and condos. They were actually up for detached homes. Now we're going to look at it in chart form. Okay, so when we look in graph form, you can see the steep drop off of the number of active listings. That's in the green line, and obviously the overall listings drops the same. For the sold properties, there has been a slight decline over the last couple months, as we see, and the number of conditionally sold properties were actually up just slightly from last week, and it's holding fairly steady, so that's fairly good. In the next chart, I'll talk about why there was such a drop in the active listings. It's not just the long weekend, but there's a few other factors in there. We've got the end of the month and the number of cancellations that typically happen at the end of the month. And I think that's even worse when you come to the end of a season, because a lot of people, if they don't sell by school time, they'll just take their house off the market and not plan to move this year. That's possible. All in all, there was 86 properties that expired in the last couple of days, and there were 110 that were canceled. We do expect that a lot of those would end up being relisted, maybe after the long weekend in the next couple of weeks. So this chart here is the active listings. So we've got the number of new listings. So we've got 271 properties that were listed this week, which is down significantly from last week. Of those 271 properties, 74% or 200 were new to the market, and that's down significantly, as you see, from the last few weeks. And 26% or 71 were properties that were relisted. So the number of properties, new properties listed or properties listed at all, really does drop before and during long weekends. Expect it to start picking up, maybe not so much this week coming, but in the next 2 weeks, the number of listings will jump back up. Will it jump back up to spring rates or even early summer rates? Probably not, because people don't really want to sell in the fall and move in the winter. It's less desirable for a lot of people. Okay, so of the sales, we've got the breakdown of sales. We had 21% of the homes that sold this week sold with no conditions. And of the properties that sold this week, only 14% sold within the first 7 days. So that's fairly down from what we've seen in the last months. And of those 14%, 59% of those sold with no conditions, which is not significantly different than what we were seeing before, maybe a little lower. 58% of homes that sold this week had sold in 30 days or less. And that percentage is dropping. And I expect it to continue to drop as we have more homes on the market and slower sales. Okay, so let's zoom in to the different areas of the city, and then we'll get into the month-end charts after that. First off, we have the central urban region. We see that the number of active listings dropped across the board, most significantly for detached and condos. And the sales were up for the detached, down significantly for townhomes, only 2 sales of townhomes this last week, and condos down slightly. In Canada and Stittsville, we had increases in the active listings for condos and towns. I think that's the first time I've ever really seen it over 40 for condos listed in Canada, Stittsville, and detached were down slightly. For sales, They were pretty flat, down for townhomes, slightly up for detached and condos. In Barrhaven and Riverside South, things were pretty quiet. We've had slight decreases in detached and towns listed for sale, no change for condos, and slight decrease for detached sales. Townhomes and condos were up slightly. And in Orleans, we had a drop in the number of detached homes and condos listed for sale, and townhomes actually climbed a little bit. And for sales, detached sales were up slightly, and townhomes and condos were down. As always, I've got the full details in the chart form, and for the detached homes, for townhomes, and for condominiums. Okay, so normally I would have the month-to-month data from the board, but that's going to probably come out in the next couple days. But in the meantime, I did pull a bunch of the stats that I normally include in the month end. And so here's the month-to-month average sale price. As you can see, across the board, except for the semi-detached market, prices month-to-month were down slightly, just slightly for freehold townhomes and both condo segments, but detached homes were down by a little over 3% this month. That's not surprising considering, I don't know if you go back to the update that I did back in near the end of July, there was a week there that had average sale price well over $1 million. So I think that the average in July was pulled up by a whole bunch of homes that sold for quite high prices. So it makes this -3 look a little bit more drastic than it really is. Yes, sales were down. Yes, prices were down. Inventory is up. And on the whole, it's not actually that negative. And for semi-detached, up 0.5. We'll see on the graph form, you can see that it's been very up, down, and this is the first time where it's been quite steady. Yeah, so the next thing here, we have the average sale price by property. When I put it in long-term in a chart form here, we can see that the detached market had been climbing and had a little bit higher of a climb there last month. And then this month, it dropped off. It's not a drastic drop. Will it continue to drop this fall? That's still to be seen based on whether or not we see inventory still climbing, if the interest rate hike happens this week or not. That's still a lot of unknowns that will play into whether or not the market will continue to hold steady or if we will see declines throughout the fall. For the semi-detached, that's the blue line, you can see that we've generally going up, down throughout most of the months. And this month, it was actually fairly steady. For the freehold townhomes, that's the orange line. It's been on a very, very slow decline for the last 4 months. And the condo markets had a slight decline over the last couple months. Okay, so this next chart is the average days to sell. So what this feeds into this is inventory. And so as we've seen, the inventory has been climbing quite a bit over the last 3 months. And so the detached market is the one that has been affected the most. We've had the most increase in detached homes listed for sale. And with more homes listed comes more choice for the buyers. And as a result, we're up to 31 days for detached homes on average selling. The townhome market increased slightly to 22 days, which is quite reasonable. And the condo market has stayed quite steady at around the 27-day mark. So very, very steady for the condo market. Okay, so the next up thing is months of inventory. So that takes into account the number of sales and the amount of inventory. I've talked about it over the last few months. The inventory has climbed quite significantly. It's about 25% increase in inventory over the last 3 months across the city. And the sales have dropped off over the last couple months with the interest rate hikes in June and July. So the detached market's been the most affected by this. We're up to 3.6 months of inventory for August. That's if no more homes came on the market, it would take 3.6 months for the rest of the inventory to sell at the current rate of sales. So what can switch this in the months coming ahead? Inventory, if it starts dropping off through the fall, and of course sales, the volume of sales. If the sales continue to be slow, then the months of inventory can continue to climb. And if the number of sales picks up in the fall. If we say if the Bank of Canada doesn't raise interest rates, people have a little bit more confidence that things will stay steady, then perhaps the number of sales will pick up a little bit in the fall, and you could see the months of inventory could come back down. But right now it's looking pretty slow. Lots of choice for buyers, which is great if you're a buyer. For the townhouse market, we're at about 1.9 months, just up slightly from last month. And for the condo market, it actually came down slightly, but it had been a bit of a jump last month. So we're at 2.2 months of inventory for condos. Okay, so the last one that sort of is a fallout thing is as there's more choice for buyers, as there's more inventory, as sales are slowing down, typically the price that homes are selling versus what they're listed at starts to drop a little bit. And as we can see across the property types, we've got a little bit of a drop there. So currently we're at about 97.6 for detached homes, 98.4% townhomes, and condominiums are at about 98. Okay, so that's it. That's all I have for today. I will have the Ottawa Real Estate Board stats in just a few days when they release those, and I'll provide another update video with those stats as well as probably these charts again, just to round it all out. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions of what you'd like to see in these weekly updates, please let me know. And I hope you have a fantastic end to the long weekend and back to school for those headed back to school.